Yeah.
This is Umar Ahmed for IFL TV in association with MTK Global. Well, it's the first time I'm speaking to Dominic Ingle since his man Liam Williams' fight has been confirmed with Demetrius Andrade. And we will talk about that in a second. But just firstly, I want to get a reaction to last night's card, Dom. Let's start with the main event. What did you make of Josh Warrington's loss?
You know what? I didn't even bother tuning in last night. I didn't even bother watching it because I just thought it was going to be a foregone conclusion anyway. But, you know, I didn't look at the other guy. I didn't look into his fights or videos or anything. I just thought, you know, he's going to get this one out of the way and get moving on. So when I woke up this morning, I got a load of notifications on my phone. I'm thinking that's a bit strange. I hadn't heard from him for a while. So everybody was just talking about Josh Warrington's loss last night. So I just read through the messages. And, yeah, it's a bit of a shock, to be honest. A bit of a shock.
Are you going to have a watch of it?
Yeah, I watched the knockdowns. I didn't watch all the fight. And I think, though, you know, people were saying, oh, you know, he took a lot of hammer in that fight. You know, when you've been in boxing a long time, you've always got to account that, you know, sometimes the worst can happen. And when you think of this, the whole build-up for this fight, you know, the Galahad's involvement, Kanzu, and then he's ended up with this guy. You know, people fail to take into account that how much it bends boxers' minds, all this disruption and upset. And, you know, Josh, by his own admittance, has said that he's very OCD. And I've seen it with people who have to have their left glove on first and their right boot on first. And if you know, Liam Williams once threw a pair of boxing boots in the bin because he had a rubbish spar in them and they were brand new. So it kind of, you know, with Josh, he's used to being in Leeds, having a weight making procedure up in Leeds. Going into that bubble, if you've never been into it, is like it sets you out. You know, it unnerves you. It sends all your balance out. So, but before that, just all the messing around, thought he was going to fight Kanzu, and then having to give up his world title, and then having to settle for this guy. You know, you really can't be doing that kind of stuff at this world title level. Everything's got to be precise and nailed on. And he just looked out of sorts, you know, in the fight last night from round one. And to me, you know, he had hard fights with Selby and Frampton, and you know, he had a difficult fight with Galahad. The fight after Galahad was a gimme, but you know, to me, he just looked like he had made the weight right because every shot he got hit with went through him. And to me, being in boxing a long time, that says that somehow he's done the weight making wrong or the rehydration wrong because he's iron chinned. You know, he's been proven in that sense that, you know, he's took them full on from decent kids like Selby and Frampton, and he stood up to it, and he's never shown any problems with his chin. So he does make you a bit concerned. There were flashes of that fight, although it was a totally different fight, of going back to Joshua and Ruiz, where, you know, you just can't, you're thinking, how's this guy, you know, causing distress to Joshua? And it was same last night. Nobody knew anything about Laura. So it would be easy to scoff and, you know, laugh about it. But it's, at the end of the day, it's a British fight, and you want British fighters to win. But, you know, it's a bad situation for him now because you have to ask, where does he go? And it's going to be a long, hard road to come back if he comes back from it, because, you know, not only did he get dropped twice, he did take some heavy shots in that fight. And I think where he's at, where he wanted to be and going to the bigger fights and move up and do unifications, it's a bit like when Naz got beat by Barrera, and his next fight was shocking, and that were him done. He won it, but it was shocking. It's going to be a long road back for Josh if he wants to pursue that thing. He might have just had boxing up to the back teeth by now.
You mentioned the wars he had with Frampton and Selby. Do you think the Kid Galahad fight took anything out of Josh as well?
Mentally, it might have made him think, you know, he's not as good as he thinks he is. With fighters, sometimes they've got to have that air of invincibility about them, but you've got to be realistic as well. And I think, you know, somebody said that Warrington's, you know, Josh is no good going backwards. And he just didn't seem to have the power last night, what usually keeps people backing off. You know, Galahad said he got decent power, enough to think, you know, don't be walking into shots. But he just didn't seem to have it. He just didn't seem to deter that, you know, Laura last night. And maybe when that didn't work, it's very difficult then to go back to boxing and boxing your way through, because he's not that type of boxer. But you've always got to have that in your arsenal. You've always got to have plan B. If you can't bang somebody out, you've got to stand back and box your way through. And he never seemed to do that. He never seemed to get into his groove and find his boxing. So, look, it could have, you know, I don't think it's them fights what's affected him. I think it's just the whole build-up from this Kanzu thing. You know, just the process from supposed to be fighting in November, being out of the ring so long, last minute opponents changing, getting stripped of your world title fight, no crowd, all these things what he's used to having, what give him that confidence going into a fight, get his adrenaline going. He didn't have, and he's used to them big arenas and them big, big crowds and all that excitement. And it is. I've been in fights. It's like it's an anticlimax when you get in them fights where in the bubble when there's no crowd and there's no audience. It's almost like a sparring session. So it's difficult to say, but I don't think it's from them fights. No, I just think the whole, build up to this fight, the whole process has just probably burnt his head out. Really.
Well, I've heard this morning that he did kind of get his checks in hospital and everything is okay. So that's the main thing, obviously, in regards to his health.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to see people getting, injured in boxing. It was a bad knockout. And as the fighter is Howard Foster, people say, I should have stopped in the 4th round. But, Josh Warrington's been a world champion. He's been in our level fights. So you have to take that into consideration when you're thinking about stopping a kid. I don't think he was ever in the fight. And then ultimately, he got knocked out. It was at the 9th, I think. So sometimes mentally, he's never been stopped in his life, has he? It is a big mental thing because, I've had fighters who've been like that and they got stopped and they're never the same again. So I can't say it's ironic really, but it's a bit sad in the sense because he did want to go on to big things. Look, we've had words, me and Josh, but at the end of the day, he's a fighter and you have to respect him for what they do. And it was a fight that, Galahad wanted to do. If he beats Jazza Dickens in a month or two's time, it was still going to be a fight down the line that, we'd have entertained. So, we just have to see where it goes from here. He sells a big crowd. He's entertaining to watch. It's not my style of fighting, but, he's just been on a banana skin, and he slipped on a banana skin for the time being. And he's been out for such a long period of time as well. It makes you wonder how quickly he's going to get back in if he does.
Okay, let's move on to the machine, Mr. Liam Williams. You must be just over the moon that you finally got this confirmed. It's been a long time coming, Dom.
Yeah, it's been a long time, but Liam's, been ticking over, he's been having fights, he's been in the gym, and he's on a roll, isn't he? So he's looking forward to it. They've had one common opponent in Atlantic's Fox, and they both dealt with him in different ways. But it's an interesting fight. Hopefully, it won't be too restrictive by the time we get to America. We don't want to have any problems with sparring partners and finding gyms to train and everything else. It's difficult. It's hard enough when you go to America in normal times, as we did when Kell Brook boxed Sean Porter. But in these times, if there's going to be restrictions, it's going to be even more difficult for the away fighter trying to find the sparring and the gyms and everything else. The logistics of it all is going to make it difficult. But Liam's in a good place. The one thing about Liam is fearless. He can fight and he can punch, and that's and he's got a lot of belief in himself at the minute.
How many weeks of your camp do you want to do in America, Dom?
Yeah, for me, it's always, we want to be out there 3 weeks. That's the adjustment time, depending where you are. If you're going to be in places like LA where there's 8 hours difference, you need at least 3 weeks. I think when Galahad boxed in Boston, which was 5 hours, we were out there we were 2 weeks in Canada, which was the same time zone, and then a week in Boston. So it works out. We've got it down to a T now. The timing, it works perfect for us. It's a long wait time from home, but Billy Joe Saunders against David Lemieux, 3 weeks. And I always remember Billy saying after that fight, it's like I'd lived in Canada all my life after 3 weeks. It felt great. And it makes such a massive difference. Fighters don't realise this. I think, when Liam Smith went out to fight the guys, he'd like Munguia and Canelo, they didn't go out long enough. It's a lot of adjustment. It takes a lot off your performance going out too short. And even Billy in his fight, when he boxed in, on the big fight in LA last year, we went out a week before just because of visa problems and passports and everything else. And it does affect you. The jet lag does affect you. So it takes, I'm going to say 30-40% of your performance. So you've got to be out there well in enough time to adjust and give yourself a realistic chance of winning. Yeah,
I believe the fight will be in Providence, so that's 5 hours.
Yeah. So we'll still probably go out for 3 weeks. I mean, I've got a friend, a promoter in Canada, and we go out there, we train in his gym, and we just fly into that side, New York, Boston, whatever it is, and it's an easy transition, so it works for us.
Dom, did you see some of Demetrius' recent comments to myself?
Yeah, listen, it's water for ducks back to me, and he's banging on about the Billy Joe Saunders thing. But look, at the end of the day, they want to do VADA testing, any kind of testing. They can do what they want. where this, I don't know, he's trying to rattle. He's not certainly not rattling me. And like I said before, he's got Victor Conte backing him and dealing with him, and Victor Conte's been one of the biggest. What can I say? Ped influences of modern day times. The Balco scandal and everything else. So it makes a difference, does it? It's like we couldn't have guys like Victor Conte working in England with fighters. It's just not allowed with our how our doping is and with UCAD. But it's just funny how he's banging on about that. Yet he's working with one of the biggest in the sport, or has been the biggest in the sport. So it's not founded. It's a load of rubbish what he's saying. But if he wants to say, let him get on with it. It's no water off my bike. It's no skin off my nose, should I say?
And aside from the comments you just referred to, he seems very coy when I ask about Liam, like he's never really heard of him. I haven't seen anything. Do you believe him?
It's a bit played out that that was Mayweather's favourite trick, weren't it? What guy? Who's that? But it's like, of course, the old cares. What trying to? Do you think Liam Williams is going to be bothered? Look, Bubo Andrade is like, he's not a massive name, is he? Listen, he's not a bad fighter. He came over here one time and beat Brian Rose. And Brian's a nice kid, and he got his world title shot probably a bit too late. But he wasn't the best of British, and this is not taking anything away from Brian Rose, And it's like the last fight he boxed Luke Keeler, he's hit him full on, and Keeler was still standing up. It's like he's not got the greatest power. He's not a bad, tricky boxer. He's 30 odd. Liam's a few years younger. Liam's got a good engine, and we know what Boo-Boo's all about. He's about saving himself time, being slick, moving out of the way. He can't fight for 3 minutes of every round. He can't, and he won't be able to do that because he hadn't practiced it for long enough. So, I'm confident Liam Williams is, as long as we're not on the wrong end of a bad decision, I think Liam Williams is going to be too much. We're going to have too much pressure, too much power. And I think and he's got a good chin, Liam Williams, and when Boo-Boo can't make a dint on him, I think he's going to, start falling to pieces a little bit like Atlantis Fox did. Don't forget, Atlantis Fox was 6'4". Demetrius is about 6'1". All right, he's a tricky southpaw, but Liam spars with plenty of tricky southpaws. It's not a style he has a problem with, and he's doing a lot of talking at the minute, Andrade, and like I say, I don't think he fancies this fight. I think he wants to go for bigger fights and bigger purses, but he's got to fight his mandatory, and it's Liam Williams. So this is Liam Williams' second or third world title fight. Hopefully, it's going to be third time lucky.
Well, roll on April. It's a brilliant fight. Dom, thanks for talking to us now. If I don't talk to you before you fly out to America, I will see you out there in Providence. But thanks for your time.
No problem, mate.
Cheers, Dom. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Bye.